Hey guys, I'm Mark Wallace. I race downhill for the Canadian CLLCTV, and today I'm going to show you how to build a jump. It'll be about 4 feet high, 9 feet long, and 32 inches wide. Even though we're technically a country that uses the metric system, all our lumber here is measured in the imperial system, so I'm going to use that to build this. If you were in a country that uses the metric system to measure their lumber, you'll just have to do a bit of math, which is probably good because I'm sure you haven't been to school in at least a few months. So just convert those mixed numbers into improper fractions and then convert. It's 2.54 centimeters to an inch. And okay, so before we get started, we'll go through what we're going to need. Starting with hearing protection, safety glasses, drill, skill saw, jigsaw, tape, some string, at least 15 feet long, a pencil, square, and an extension cord. If you have these things, this is going to be easy. Okay, here's the materials to build this jump. What we're going to need is one sheet of 3/8 plywood, a sheet of 5/8 plywood, two 12-foot 1x4s, and then eight 8-foot 2x4s. And to attach it all together, I'm going to use maybe about 100 3-inch screws and probably about 50 1 1/4. Okay, first thing we're going to do is pull two of your 8-foot 2x8s out, and we're going to leave them full length. Then we're going to take two more to go cut in half. Okay, so I'm going to cut this 8-foot 2x4 in half. I'm going to go to 4 feet. Safety first. Okay. Eventually. While we're on the program of cutting things in half, we'll do the 1x4s as well. So cutting at 6 feet. Okay, so we have our four 6-foot 1x4s, the two 8-footers we set aside, our four 4-footers that we just cut in half, and four full-length 8-footers left, and we'll get to those later. Now we're going to use this 5/8 sheet of plywood and cut the curve. Okay, so to do the curve, we're going to use a string to form a radius, and then tie the string to the pencil and move it across the plywood. The trick is to get the curve to start and end in the right places. So I think for this plywood it's going to be about 12 feet, so I'm going to start there and then just test it out. So I put the sawhorses on this crack in the concrete, so I have a straight line to work from. Put some boards on top to weight it down a little bit, and I'll tie the string around that front left post, and then I'm going to measure 12 feet out on this line, and I'm going to kick the plywood that way. I think about 2 feet, because you don't want the bottom to be exactly parallel. You can be into the curve a little bit with some rise already. That way the plywood's not too thin and it won't break. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up. Okay, so I played around with it a little bit, and for this setup, I found the right place for the curve to match both corners to be about 13/8. So if you start around there somewhere, should get you pretty close, and maybe you just have to adjust a little bit as you go. So we're 13'8" from the sawhorse post to the far corner of the plywood, and then the plywood is 2 feet off center. Tie the string around the post, and then tie the pencil to match up at the bottom corner. It's really important that your line ends on the vertical side of the jump and not this side, because we're going to need to use the other half of the piece to draw the line the other way. So yeah, just make sure your line doesn't end up here somewhere. It's got to end down of this corner, but as close to this corner as possible is good. And then add 8 inches to your string and draw another line. This will be the bottom of the curve. Okay, so got your 2 lines drawn on the plywood, and we're going to cut the inside one, or the surface of the jump, first. Okay, so once this piece is cut out, we're just going to take it, be careful with it, it's going to break, flip it over, line up the corners again, and just trace your curve. This piece down out of the way somewhere. Again, just be careful with it. And then repeat, cut again. For your offcuts, you'll end up with this surfboard type shape, and then 2 sort of smaller jump looking things. So if you have a younger sibling or something, or want a second smaller lip, you could frame this one up and actually get 2 jumps out of 1 piece of plywood. Okay, so you can line these up, make sure they're the same, and then once they are, go on to the next step. Now we're gonna grab 2 8-footers and 2 of our 4-footers. So we got both sides of the curves laid out, and then we're just gonna kind of line them up, and we'll draw some pencil lines on the 2x4s to know where we need to cut them, and then start to screw things together. Okay, so for this, the top is gonna become our inside. So this will be the inside of the curve. Go ahead, put our 8-footer on here. Okay, so we're gonna line this up with the bottom here, but then we want to leave a little bit of space at the end so we can put in a 2x4 just like that. That's gonna fit in well on both sides there. So you just gotta leave a little bit of space, enough for that, and then also same thing up here. So we're gonna leave space to put that on there like that for our cross pieces at the end. Like the same with these. Also the underside. And this one too. And notice how the tops is on top, or also the inside, on top, also the inside. Then this is on top at the bottom, or also the inside. So that means our uprights are on the outside once the jump's standing. So let's go ahead and do this for the other curve as well, and then we'll cut some stuff. Once we've got all the pieces cut, I'm gonna lay them back out like we had them before, and then get the drill and screws and start putting them together. Okay, so any 2x4 to 2x4 connection, I'm gonna use a 3-inch screw, and then when I'm going through the plywood into a 2x4, for now I'm gonna use the 1 1/4. right. This will be the left-hand side of our jump here. All right, just do the same for the other one. Okay, so once you have your two curves, make sure you got all the overlaps all the same way and everything, so everything that's on the inside is on the inside and the outsides look the same. Then we'll go cut the rest of our 8-foot 2x4s, all four of them, into 12, 30, and 3/4 inch pieces. The reason for 30 and 3/4 is that it'll make the deck 32 inches wide, which is what we want, but we gotta cut the 2x4s down because they're gonna sit inside the plywood, and the plywood's 5/8. So we'll go cut those, and then we can start putting this thing together. Okay, at this point, if you can find something to lean at least one of them up against, that would be really helpful at this point. So what we're gonna do, grab some of our longer screws, 3-inch ones. Do the bottom first, because that makes it easy. Just gonna put one across the bottom, stabilize things a little bit. So that's holding that apart the right distance, hopefully. Come down to this side. Okay, looking pretty good. Okay, so pretty much have our frame good to go. So I think now we're gonna fill in the rest of the cross pieces in a even space. We're gonna put one down here. The first part of the jump always has the highest impacts on it, so we wanna make sure down here has some good support. We'll put that one there, which means we have 8 left, I believe. So we're gonna measure from here to there, and then see how we need to evenly space them. Okay, so it's 7 feet, so that's 84 inches, and we have 8 pieces, so that would mean 9 spaces. So 9 and I guess we can call it about 3/8. 9 3/8 spaces between each of our pieces. So I'm gonna start at the top. I'm gonna measure down 9 3/8, put a board on, and then measure down again, and just do that all the way down for all 8 pieces. Next, we're gonna take our 4 6-foot 1x4s and make them into cross braces. So we're gonna do an X on the front and an X on the 2x4s that we're using as a base. So we'll just put them up here, scribe the backs on both sides, and then screw them on. Once we have our cross braces on, we're going to tip the jump over on its side, and then grab those other 4-footers, the last 2 pieces of 2x4 that you had, and we're going to put them in here as like a intermediate brace. If you've ever seen Napoleon Dynamite, you'll know why. I'm gonna go from the high side of the 4th rung down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, high side. And then I want this to be parallel with this brace. So I'm gonna measure from here to the inside or high side of the 4th rung, and then match up the distance with here to where that place is on here. Yeah, and then I'll go ahead, slide this thing under, to where I want, and then just scribe top and bottom lines so I know where to cut it. Do that on both sides, cut them, screw them on. Once those are on, it's time for the last step, get this decking on. So we're gonna take our 3/8 piece of plywood and cut 3 strips at 32 inches across it. So I'll end up with 3 32-inch by 48-inch pieces. So once you got your 3 pieces cut, I'm gonna start at the bottom, and yeah, we'll use the 1 1/4 inch screws. Just gotta pay attention to where your cross pieces actually are, because you don't want to go into the 5/8 plywood. You want to actually be going into these 2x4s. So you can see where they are because of the other screws, and then just line them up and maybe put 4 across for each one, and maybe a little bit of overhang down here at the bottom, just past, so that you get a nice transition onto the ramp. Now let's work our way up. So you want the joins in the wood to always end on one of your cross pieces. So here, this one lined up well, so we'll leave that as is, and then we're gonna need another piece, but I don't want to just have one short one, so I'm gonna go back to this 4th rung down where we had the intermediate braces and mark the plywood halfway through that brace on both sides, cut it off, and then put on the next one and cut the top off. Okay, so we'll throw our last piece up there, mark where we need it to end. Both sides. Last piece going on. Check all our corners, make sure it lines up how we want. Looks pretty good. We'll screw that down and call it done. There it is, all done. So we'll take this somewhere we can give it a go. That's what we got left for scraps of the pieces of wood, and the plywood scraps over there. There it is, finished product. If you get the chance to build one yourself, tag us in any videos or photos you have of what you get up to with it. We'd love to see them. Thanks for watching.